Happy New Year. I am tremendously blessed that you guys are here with us and a part of what is going on. I have to fix some microphone issues, and I also have to bring a few people into the scene here. We've got, let me see here, what's going on. Okay, I'm going to address that while David's talking, but we're going to do that in a minute. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to let people know that we're here on Instagram because we have not done that yet because it's been busy this morning. We've had news coming in fast and furious. We are going to talk about what's happening in the north of Israel. We are going to talk about the Red Sea. The United States fired on Yemeni Houthis, and there were casualties. They sunk 3 ships in the Red Sea. That's a serious
the pirate
one.
boats,
Yeah, they were pirate boats. But Yemen's take on it is not very good. So what we're going to see is pretty significant. It's something that we should all be thinking about here. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So with all that, we're going to have that conversation. And then if we have some time, well, no, we will have time. We are going to, matter of fact, we might start with that clip that we were talking about, and because obviously we want to get updated on everything that's going on with the news. So there's a lot happening there that I think is very, very important to be discussing. So we're going to do that. And then I think after that, I think we'll end up wrapping it up. But there's a lot happening, so we're going to talk about all that.
Well, give me time for my New Year's resolution too. I mean,
what about your tell me about your New Year's resolution? What's the story?
Decision. I want to say thank you to a lot of people.
Bro, listen. You look. I'm just going to tell you this right now. There's a lot of people that want to say thank you to you because you're very loved and you have been such a blessing to all of us, especially as you've been making some pretty important decisions to be very open and bold about some of the things that are happening. And it's been a necessity because of the time that we're living in. So I'm going to do this really quickly. I very rarely do this, but I am doing it this time. I'm going to let people know while we're live on the air that we're actually live on the air. So let's do this real quick. Hey, everybody, we're live. We're talking about the United States firing on the Houthis in the Red Sea, 3 ships down. We're talking about Damascus and a whole bunch of other stuff. Click right here. We're live. So, bro, I'm going to let you talk for a few minutes because I know there's some things you wanted to talk about. And
so, first of all,
just the New Year's resolution stuff.
That was the ultimate selfie. I mean, we were selfie on the selfie on the selfie.
That's how it goes.
Oh, my. It's amazing.
It's yeah, people don't come if they don't know we're here. So
there we go.
It's par for the course. It's what we have to do sometimes, right?
Okay, so give me a couple of minutes to share something that's been on my heart this New Year's because, again, this is my first kind of Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, which shouldn't have been. I should have been home a long time ago, but I'm kind of stuck here. But I have to say that the last week, maybe even a little bit more, has been pretty hard on my soul. And the reason was what's going on in Israel. I'm hearing the stories. One of my nephews was let out of the army. He's not inside anymore, so that's good. And I've been talking to people who are there. You talk to I'm renting my house to a family that has kind of left the combat zone. So you hear their stories. And one of the things that was sitting on my soul was how terrible that Black Saturday was. And on this side of the ocean, on this side of the world, mainly you either hear people saying that this was justified, basically, Israel's to blame, or people not saying anything. And the silence, including the silence of some of the people that I respect, including the silence of some of the people who should be very, very included in this, was making me very angry, literally angry. I mean, I could feel it. I mean, I can think it, but emotionally, I get reminded of the stories of the trains going off to Auschwitz, and nobody actually saying anything, and it was really eating at my soul. But luckily, I married an amazing woman, and one of the things that she started pounding into me is, but here you are, you're here, and there are people who want to hear what you have to say. There are people that are supporting you. There are people that are using you to show their love for Israel. And why do you zone in on the ones that don't and don't zone in on the ones that do?
Yep.
And what I'm trying to say is thank you to each and every one of you watching us, to each and every one of you listening to us, supporting us. Yes, there's a lot of people who are not saying what needs to be said, including in the churches. I got to say that.
Including specifically and exceptionally in the churches.
But my New Year's resolution is going to be not to feed off and not to be impacted by the ones that don't, but to feed off and be impacted by people like you that do. And I just wanted to say on this new year, thank you.
Yeah. And you, look, I can't tell you this enough. You are very much loved. Look, it doesn't take a lot to be able to tell people how much you mean to the body of Christ and how much you mean to us in the work that's going forth. And we're very thankful for you. I don't say this enough, but I am immensely thankful for the amazing group of people that watch us on a day-to-day basis. It's very, very difficult to explain to people the significance that is what we get to experience together as the body of Christ with our community of people that are sharing these videos with others, that are getting involved, getting invested. We're very, very, very thankful. And I'm really blessed because this is our first live show of the new year. And not only do we have a lot to talk about and a lot that we're sort of ramping up to, but we also have a lot to be thankful to the Lord for, and that is definitely one of them. So I do want to say something interesting. This is a text that my sister gave me, and my sister, I'm just going to read exactly what she wrote. This is awesome. I just love it. And if it didn't come from my sister, then I would never read it because I know my sister gives me reliable information. And this is just her sending me something personally that she probably didn't expect to be written out loud. But I'm going to read it out loud to thousands of people. And it says this: Claudine Gay. I don't know if you know who Claudine Gay is. No. She's that disgusting pig that is, and yes, I don't care. You can get mad at me for calling a woman a disgusting pig. She is. She is the president of Harvard, right?
Okay.
She's the,
right.
or the whatever, the dean, whatever.
Right.
She's a piece of garbage. Anyway, this is what my sister writes. Claudine Gay is finally resigning from Harvard today after that disastrous congressional testimony regarding anti-Semitism on campus and all the plagiarism allegations against her. Shortest tenure ever for a Harvard president, 6 months. Thank God the witch is dead.
So I saw a very interesting piece today.
She's a pig, by the way.
She's more than a pig because, I saw a very interesting piece. Somebody said that when George Floyd was died in the hands of the police, she wrote a piece about that where she goes all out on this is terrible, this is atrocious, this makes me feel vulnerable, yes, this and this and this. And somebody put a piece up where he actually brought up the letter that she wrote after October 7th. And actually he used ChatGPT to actually look at both letters and say, what does this letter say and what does this letter say? And this one said violence and this and atrocity and this. And this one said, oh, she's sad about what happened. And you see that the death of 1,400 people and the brutal murder and rape and everything that was connected to that was less atrocious to her than the death of one man. And again, that difference, and she was a dean, she wasn't the president, she was but a dean, and both of them had official Harvard stamps, how do you say, letterheads on top of them.
Yeah, and half of it probably wasn't even her writing.
So again, what I'm trying to say is this. First of all, yes, she is a very bad person, but she is being used by even worse bad people because she is just a figurehead. She's not the actual instigator.
Yep.
So that's about that lady. I just have to say, we need to zoom in on the positive, I think, in some of the things that we're doing here. And just remember the people that are watching, listening, and preparing for what's going on.
Bro, Look, I've said this before, and I've dedicated some time to doing this, and that is the fact that this is a very spiritual issue. All of this is spiritual. You know it. We've been talking about it. You have a better understanding of it all. I am going to say this, guys. Friday, we are going to re-release the prophecy update that I did on Sunday night. Now, if you can't wait until Friday, you can go to the Calvary Chapel Signal Hill live page and watch it. And a good portion of what time that I spent was talking about anti-Semitism in the last days and understanding what the Bible says about it and what's happening. We are absolutely there. We are in that world, and it's getting darker.
Yes, but here's my role. Okay, and something that I've been kind of messing around with. I think God sent me here to be a representative of my people. Moses, go talk for my people, or other representatives of my people. And one of the illustrations that I like to use, I've used it a couple of places, is that the Jews are the canary in the mine.
Yeah, they are.
And God has used the Jews to show what's going on, really. Just like a canary is supposed to give you indication of what's really happening. God has used the Jews, and the canary in the mines are supposed to be indicative of something bad that is happening. And, we all kind of appreciate the canary in the mine, but think about being the canary.
Oh, bro.
And do you understand? And that's where I am. I mean, people say, oh, it's wonderful that we see what's going on, but I mean, my people were brutally raped and kidnapped and killed and murdered in the most brutal manner. So I mean, I understand the role that we're filling as giving an indication of what's going on, but we are the ones paying the price on the ground.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And the price is big, and it continues to be a big price, and it's getting uglier by the moment. Okay, so let's do this
it's
because
getting more dangerous, by the way.
Oh yeah, bro. That's to say the least. I mean, look, honestly, to say the least, it's getting more dangerous. Okay, so I'm gonna bring up a clip. It's gonna take a second because for whatever reason the screen isn't coming up, but it will. I'm gonna bring up a clip that we pulled that you're gonna translate in Hebrew, translate from Hebrew to English. That I want people to hear. You actually wanted people to hear it. I think it's important.
Mm-hmm.
But before we have that discussion, before we get into that, give us an update. What's going on? What's the latest and greatest? We are going to talk about, by the way, what happened in the Red Sea. It's a very important story. We have to have that conversation. We're going to talk about the Yemenis. And then we may just for a few minutes touch up on the condition in Syria right now. That's going to be a bigger discussion for tomorrow.
Oh, Lebanon's been...
Lebanon is the bigger concern for me. The North is the bigger concern because a lot of people don't know this, but Israel has been very actively operating in the North, very aggressively for a lot of very good reasons. And a lot of it has to do with some things that we found out in Aleppo recently. In Damascus.
Oh, and a lot of it also has to do with the role of the United States. I don't know if...
that's a given.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to
and
that.
for a lot of reasons. We'll get into that.
Let's start off with something. Let's start off with what's going on in Gaza right now,
Yep.
okay? The fighting is fierce.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I mean, let's make this clear. This is an ongoing event. The feeling that I have that people have kind of settled back or kind of it's been put on the back burner, and I think I said this in a couple of places, is true. But from our point of view, we have 2, 3, 5 men dying in the fighting in Gaza every day. It is an ongoing war in the streets, in the tunnels of Gaza.
Can I stop you? I have to ask you this question because this has become a question to a lot of people. I was reminded to do something here, which I need to do really quickly, and then I'll ask the question. I want to stop to thank you guys who are doing the super chats and the super stickers. Honestly, it means a lot to us, especially when you consider the fact that we continue to face constant opposition over the stands that we take regarding those things. And it's interesting right now. I don't even know what's happening with YouTube. There's some kind of a problem going on in the tool that we use in YouTube to be able to see who is doing super chats and super stickers. I can only see the few of them that came in from what I can do. So as far as I can see, and when I get the other one, I'll get it. Paula M, thank you so much. Dean, thank you. I think I can see what you said. You said New Year's Eve 2024 said to 2023, you think you're something here. Hold my beer and watch this. It's actually pretty funny. But the rest of it's cut off, so I can't read it because I don't have my tool that I use to be able to read those. But thank you, Dean. Very generous, by the way, and your ministry is such a blessing. Julie Bush, thank you. And Jackie Bird, thank you so much. I think there was somebody before that, but the problem is I cannot see it. Only because right now something is happening on YouTube. I'm if I had to guess, I would guess it's Brad Brunn, because I see something from him that just says Happy New Year at the beginning. So I think it's you, Brad. But thank you. Okay. So so let's go back to this, bro, if we can, really quickly. You were beginning to say this. Well, let me back up because this is important. By the way, Busted Beak, thank you so much. He's very kind. He says, Pastor James, Happy New Year. David, we love you both. Do you have any more dog tags left? Yes, I have a bag full of them. So email us and we'll make an arrangement to get those to you. David just delivered them to me today. So, yeah, there they are. Okay, so here's my question. If Israel is suffering so many casualties and so much loss, right? Then why is it that the world is making it look like Gaza is the one that's suffering the most? Now, granted, there are undoubtedly there are probably more casualties, way more casualties in Gaza than there are IDF soldiers or people in Israel right now. But that is not the fault of Israel. That's definitely the fault of Hamas. But why is it so difficult for them? For the world? Yeah, no. Why is it so difficult for Israel? In other words, why are they losing so many soldiers? You know where I'm going with this because we talked about this beforehand. Because look, in my opinion, if I'm Israel and I want to destroy Hamas, I'm already going to get beat up for the civilian casualties anyway. I might as well just, in and as precise of a manner as I can, just carpet bomb them. Obviously, they can't do that, and Israel's not going to do that. Can you explain why they're not going to do that and why we're losing so many IDF soldiers?
Because we are a moral country. We are a moral society because the biblical morals that we all grew up on are part of our society.
But David, people don't understand we're a moral society. They don't understand we're a biblically moral society. Most people would hear you say that and they would say, oh, he's just got his nose up in the air and he's like every other Jew. He's just arrogant. Okay. What do you mean when you say that? What are they actually doing? What is Israel doing right now in Gaza that's causing them more casualties? Okay. What are they doing that's actually causing more IDF soldiers to die? These kids. These are 18-year-old kids that are dying.
Growing up as an Israeli, hearing the war stories, okay? And going into the army at the age of 18 and swearing to defend the country. Those of you who have been with me on Masada have heard, where am I swearing in? And one of the things that you swear is to defend the country. But you also swear, and this is one of the basic aspects of the IDF, is to uphold what we call the purity of the weapon. A weapon has to be pure. A weapon is a killing machine, but a weapon has to be pure. It's Torah Neshek in Hebrew. It is the purity of the weapon, and it is part of our military tradition that you don't cause weapons to become impure. Now, not that it hasn't happened in the past, but it is ostracized and it is ridiculed and it is how to say, berated in the worst possible forms. So in order for you to be justified in using a weapon, the weapon has to be kept pure and be used only for the defense of the country, and not in order to kill unneededly or needlessly.
Okay.
That is in our basic military tradition, our military DNA. By the way, side note, one of the places to read or connect that is a guy named Ord Wingate. I don't know if we've ever mentioned him, a British colonel that taught us how to fight back in the 1930s. Okay, he taught Moshe Dayan how to be a soldier. Okay, and one of the things that he did...
If you don't know who Moshe Dayan is...
But he is a British Christian who was pivotal in creating the moral code of the Israeli army. Take the attack to the enemy. So that's one thing. You don't use your weapons needlessly. Two, okay, there has to be a justification for any military target. There has to be a military justification for any military target. Israel has legal units sitting on the target system where you decide what is a target in order to decide if the target is legal or illegal, according to international law, according to Israeli law, and according to IDF tradition. So there's somebody whose job is to say this target, you can't shoot at it because it is unlawful. This target, you can shoot at it because it has a military justification behind it.
But in some cases, can I just say this?
And the last one. Okay.
Really quickly besides the last one. And in some cases they say, yes, it's lawful to do it, but we won't because our tradition as the IDF prohibits us from doing it.
That will make the weapon unpure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Because I want people to know that. It's not just legal or not legal. It's moral or immoral, ethical or unethical. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
And the last one is we need to do what we need to do and do it right, not because the world will say thank you or not because our enemy will say thank you or not, because of who we need to be.
Yeah.
And our moral justification comes from ourselves and not the world, which means the world can say what they want if we believe that we are doing the right thing. By the way, that's a lesson I've taught my children always. You don't do the right thing because you're afraid that you're going to get caught if you did the wrong thing. You do the right thing because that is the right thing to do, because that says who you are and not who the other. And Israel has long decided that we need to be who we need to be, and we have to be able to get up in the morning and look ourselves in the eyes. And I have to tell you, as an Israeli officer, I can say that we do. Not that there haven't been mistakes, not that there haven't been things that were done wrong, but when they're wrong, they go to jail. And as a military, as an organization, I can look ourselves in the eyes and say we do it the right way.
Okay, so we are, in essence, we are losing IDF soldiers because they're going out of their way to minimize the amount of Palestinian casualties in the region. Is that a safe statement?
That is a safe statement, because I could drop a 1-ton bomb on every building in Gaza and finish Gaza in a week.
Oh, easily.
Easily. Why don't I do that? Because I'm afraid that the world's going to get upset with me? No, because I have to get up in the morning and look myself in the eye.
Yeah, yeah.
Then what is the alternative to that? I put my young sons on tracked vehicles and send them into Gaza in order to fight the enemy in their hometown, and let us, instead of just buying them. Though there was somebody who was bombed today, and Al Jazeera said that we're cowards, that we didn't go in to do it on the ground. You see, even our enemies expect us to be moral.
Come on, I mean, Al Jazeera is in Qatar being ran by Hamas. Half of them are being, I mean, give me a break. Al Jazeera saying that Israel is wrong is an absolute joke.
But here's something,
an absolute
and maybe
joke.
this is what we need to talk about. That's why this is going to segue into what we're talking about here, because even our enemies realize and recognize that, and even our enemies respect us for the way we do that. They respect us for the way that our soldiers' lives are drastically important, and they respect the way that we respect their lives. Otherwise, they wouldn't put their tunnels under buildings.
Okay.
I mean, if we were not being respectful for their human lives, then they couldn't use their own population as human shields.
Okay, so let's go to that subject, because we have a video that we're going to play. Can you set this video up for us so people can know, like, what is it that everybody's about to watch here? Because this is kind of significant. And what we're going to talk about here is going to breach into a subject that actually, quite frankly, we weren't even really planning on talking about, but we're doing it. So let's do this. Tell me, talk to me about this video.
That happens to us a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. I mean, the current events change things, but this video that we're about to play here, explain what this is.
Okay, last night, a unmanned Israeli aircraft blew into a building in downtown Beirut, actually in the Dakhia area of Beirut, which is the center of the Hezbollah in Beirut.
This is Lebanon, folks. This is up north.
Inside Lebanon, up north. And in the explosion, a man named Salah al-Hariri, basically, died together with 2 or 3 of his lieutenants. We're not sure how many what. And Salah Hariri is a well-known Hamas operative. He is the number 2 of the political wing, meaning he is Khaled Mashal's second in command. Okay? And he is the head of the connection between the Hamas and the outside world. So you've got Yahya Sinwar sitting in the tunnel in Gaza, but you've got the political wing and the military wing outside, and he is responsible for the connection between the Hamas and the Hezbollah.
He would be, in essence, what would that be, like a liaison officer?
He would be ambassador.
Okay.
Okay,
Fair enough.
Well,
Yeah, because I want everybody to understand this, right? Hamas is a terrorist organization. Make no mistake about it. Yet they're also a government. Like, I want people to get that. Like, I want people to understand that. They're an actual government, right? That's very important.
Well, in Gaza, they have an education wing, and they have schools.
Hold on a second. Sorry, we had someone at the door at the studio.
They have schools where, on one hand, they teach children. On the other hand, they kind of store military and rockets. So military equipment and rockets. But this guy is a very bad guy. He was the one who put together a lot of terrorist attacks inside the West Bank. He is the one who is instigating. And now here's the thing. I don't know what to call it.
Hold on one second, David. I'm so sorry. Sorry, guys. We had a guy at the door. We had to deal with it. So sorry. Okay.
Anyway, so he is the go-between. What the enemy does is creates separation, saying, okay, we'll attack you from Lebanon, but we're not Lebanon. We're Hezbollah. Okay? And that way, Lebanon doesn't have to pay the price for their territory being used to attack Israel.
Yeah, that's right.
Then the Hezbollah now is saying, we'll attack you from Lebanon, but we're going to allow the Hamas to attack from Lebanon. That's not attacking. So don't come to us and kill us. Go deal with the Hamas. So that compartmentalization, that would be a drug lord in Mexico, okay, attacking the United States, and the United States coming to the Mexican government, and the Mexican government said, it's not me. So you go to the drug cartel, and then the drug cartel says, wait a minute, it's not even us. It's another smaller family that's in the cartel that is actually doing their own bidding. Don't come to us. So they're in the drug lord's territory in the sovereign country of Mexico, but nobody's taking responsibility, so you don't have
and they're
to
doing, in essence, they're doing that on purpose.
Exactly.
It's a deflection mechanism. That's what it is. Fernando, by the way, thank you so much, and God bless you. Okay, so understanding that's who this guy is.
So he's sitting in Beirut.
Okay.
And he died violently last night.
Okay.
Not that I'm sorry. Okay.
Right.
And again,
I don't think any of us are sorry about terrorists.
Okay, but then he's had a crosshairs on his back for a long time. I mean, he's been searched for. He was running the hostage negotiation when Israel gave back 900 Palestinian prisoners for one Israeli soldier that was kidnapped and taken into Gaza. And if you remember the Gilad Shalit event that happened years ago, he was the main negotiator on the Hamas side.
No kidding.
He is the one that, and I don't know if you understand, that negotiation is what galvanized the Hamas to grab as many prisoners as it can.
Yeah, a lot of people believe that.
And here's what he says. And the thing is this. He spent a lot of time in Israeli jail, so he speaks Hebrew adamantly, correctly. And because he died last night, they brought up a couple of things that he said. And I think one of the things that they kind of quoted him is very, very relevant. Let's see if we can run the clip.
And by the way, his Arabic, when I was hearing him speaking Arabic, is like he was actually born in Lebanon. He doesn't have the Syrian or the Kuwaiti accent that I oftentimes hear.
He was born in the West Bank.
That's interesting because being born in, but actually, let me just say this for some people that know, there's a lot of people that live in Judea, Samaria, which I refuse to use the term West Bank. There's a lot of people that live in Judea, Samaria that actually originated from Lebanon, which is interesting, and that might be the reason why he's spending a lot of time in that area of Beirut, because his Arabic sounds like the Lebanese Arabic, which is it's very interesting to me. I'd really be interested to know what his whole story is. But listen to this interview now. How do we want to do this? Do we just want to play piece by piece and you'll translate it, or just play the
Well, you're going to see the
whole
text
portion?
run until it finishes that. So let the text run
Okay.
on that, and then I'll translate that.
Now again, this is in Hebrew, so
Okay, well, here's the weird thing. This is an Hamas operative living in Beirut speaking Hebrew to the Israeli people.
yeah, it's amazing.
And here's what he says.
Yeah, and his Hebrew's very good, by the way.
Yeah, very good.
I mean, you would think that
No, very good.
you think he's Jewish. I mean, not quite,
Well,
quite,
he's
but
got
you
an
can,
Arab accent. But
yeah, but I mean, you can hear it.
yeah.
I mean,
Totally.
it's.
No, well, he spent like 20 years in Israeli
Listen,
prisons.
I've listened. We were interrogated. This wasn't the year that I knew you, but the year that Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated.
Oh, yeah.
We were in the country when that happened, and when we came back from the border from Jordan into, from the Sinai into Israel, right? Because we started in Egypt, we went from the Sinai to Israel. We were interrogated by some IDF officers that sounded exactly like this guy. Exactly. Their Arabic was, amazing. I mean, obviously, but which, by the way, their Arabic was definitely. It sounded like Syrian Arabic, like the kind that you would hear in Syria. But I mean, they're brilliant officers. I mean, they're very, very smart kids that were interviewing us. But anyway, they sounded like this guy.
So this is a Hamas operative in Beirut after the release of 900 Palestinian prisoners for one Israeli soldier.
Okay, this is crazy, guys. And if you can understand Hebrew, believe me, from the little that I could pick up here, it's there's almost an arrogance to his voice. Isn't there?
No, there is.
It's almost like a.
Well, I was listening to the reporter who talked to him, who interviewed him, and one of the things that he said is that there's an arrogance, but there's also respect for Israel.
Yeah, I that's understandable.
Listen to this.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's take a listen to this. And again, I'm going to just play the whole 55 seconds.
No, just play the part. You're going to see the text move on the screen.
Okay, here we go.
بإعدام حاد وحياة حاد وإجراح شوية دائما نحن مخانين لسلام محير كذاب בשביל להחזיר אותו למשפחה שלו. זה אומר שהחברה והמדינה, ההבנה שלהם כלבי האנשים שלהם היא נכונה. זה נקודת כוח.
Okay. This is what he says, okay? As long as the Israelis see the life of one citizen or soldier or person as something that you're willing to go to war for and you're willing to pay back, they have the right idea. That's how he starts us off. Meaning, I respect the fact that you're willing to go to war for one life. Then he says this. It is a point. Let's play the other part.
Yeah.
חברה ישראלית. ואני אומר את זה לכל האנשים אצלנו, גם בתוך חמאס. שמדינה מוכנה לעשות מלחמה בשביל חייל, ולשחרר 1,000 אסירים בשביל חייל, זה חיובי.
Okay, so he says, this is something that I respect in the Israeli society. That is a point of force, a point of strength for you. And I say this to everybody, including to the Hamas, that a country who is willing to go to war for one soldier or to give up thousands of prisoners for one soldier,
we'll never give
that is positive. Okay, but here's what he says. He says, on the other hand, me from the other side, he says, me on the other side, meaning I'm not Israeli, I am your enemy. He says, listen to this. He says, it would be better for me as the Hamas if you didn't care about your soldiers.
I mean, but tell me he's wrong.
Here we go. But here's the thing. That means that even he respects the fact that we celebrate life, and he understands that his way to fight that is by using that against us in taking hostages and putting that there, or even the fact that we celebrate their life and we respect their lives more than they do.
Yeah, I am mind boggled by that. I honestly, I really am. I'm completely mind boggled by that.
So this is the guy who died last night. And hopefully that's going to leave a hole in the coordination
Okay, yeah.
between the different aspects.
So-
and that's going to tie us into what we need to talk about.
Yeah, that
today.
was going to be the next question, was his death. What advantage does that put for Israel? And before you answer that question, let me just say to Ray Girls, bro, thank you so much, bro. You're amazing. You're generous. And we love you and we appreciate your kindness and your generosity. Okay, what advantage does Israel gain from this guy being gone now?
Okay, so let's zoom out. And like I say, let's go up to the Goodyear blimp a minute and look back down and let's look at what's going on. Okay, Iran is playing the puppet game. And Iran has a string that is connected to Hamas. Iran has a string that is connected to the Hezbollah. Iran has a string that is connected to Houthis. Iran has different strings connected to different places inside Syria. This is what we need to talk about. And basically, what they've been saying for a long time is this all-out attack. Iran was going to use all these proxies to pull out an all-out attack, and it hasn't really happened. Basically, the Hamas started this attack on the 7th of October, and as of now, the rest of the proxies have been relatively silent, have been relatively quiet. That's why the Hezbollah is not attacking directly, but is using the Hamas operatives in Lebanon to attack Israel from Lebanon. And that's why they keep it kind of separated. The thing is that we killed him right smack in the Hezbollah stronghold in Damascus.
Yeah, which is a massive testament to the intelligence that Israel has, even in light of all the craziness that happened recently.
But it's also a slap in the face of the Hamas.
Oh yeah,
saying, "Listen, you guys are," and we've said this. I mean, your operatives are on the list, and also is a slap in the face to Nasrallah and Hezbollah.
Well, and we're going to read this in our Countdown to Eternity article, or our Countdown to Eternity show that we're recording, right? But I cannot believe that I have a Wall Street Journal article in my hand, right?
From
Where Bennett literally lets go of information that Israel never lets go of.
Interesting.
So the drone factory that was destroyed in Iran a few years ago that everyone was kind of quiet about and Israel kept their mouth shut about, Bennett said, yeah, that was us.
That's weird.
Then he goes and talks about the assassination of a couple of very high level, what some people would call world leaders. Bennett says, yep, that was us. We did that. I don't understand why he's disclosing information like that sensitive. Maybe it's to tell people, hey,
When was this?
we're not going to take you off the list. This was December the 28th. And by the way, just so that you understand, this wasn't him telling anybody about anything. This was him writing an op-ed, his own writing.
So here's what I think Israel is trying to do. There are things that we all know, and there's the things that we know but don't say. Okay, Iranian nuclear physicists that die weirdly in Iran. Israel has never said we're going to do this. So there's only one reason to make this public. Okay, and the Israeli government doesn't want to make it public directly. They don't want to make it public directly, but they want to make it public. They want the Arab world to know, that we're coming after them.
Yeah, that they won't hesitate. That's right.
The fact that El-Ariri knows that he had a crosshair on his back is okay. But we need other people to know. And here's the correction. Israel is trying to keep the whole Hamas issue in a bag right now, in a situation. Let us finish off with Hamas. We're trying not to have this spread up to something. The problem is Iran is not pushed a button yet. Hasn't triggered yet the complete all out. I mean, they could say tomorrow, Hezbollah, Houthis, everything that you got, shoot it together and let's go to war. They haven't done that yet, but there is this element where, Mohammed Ibrahim living in downtown Beirut is going to say, I'm going to go, and puts a bomb on and goes, straps in. And Israel is saying, wait a minute. We want to make sure that this doesn't spread into something more into the street. This doesn't become another Arab Spring. And that's why these things are being made public, not officially by the Israeli government because they don't want to kind of deal with the fallout, by somebody who used to be in the Arab government. And Israel is taking the gloves off to a certain extent. Part of the reason, by the way, that this guy was taken off in Beirut is because yesterday, the Gerald Ford, I don't know if you remember, the carrier strike group that was sent to the Eastern Mediterranean at the beginning of this to stare down at Iran and stare down at Syria and stare down at Hezbollah. Yesterday, the Gerald Ford left.
That I did not hear.
And here's the thing. America is saying...
Where did it go?
I don't know. Back to the States is what we heard on Israeli news. But basically, it's leaving, meaning you don't have the American stick sitting on the edge of the Mediterranean saying, being careful. Don't get into this. And I think that when America took its stick away, Israel had to bring his stick in.
Can I read you? Let me just read to you what... And we'll get into this on our other show. But he said this. This is his exact writing. He says, as prime minister, I made another decision regarding Iran. I directed Israel's security forces to make Tehran pay for its decision to sponsor terror. Enough impunity. After Iran launched 2 failed UAV attacks on Israel in February 2022, Israel destroyed a UAV base on Iranian soil. In March 2022, Iran's terror unit attempted to kill Israeli tourists in Turkey and failed. Shortly thereafter, the commander of that very unit was assassinated in the center of Tehran. It turns out that Iran's tyrants are softer than one might expect. They gleefully send others to die for them, but when they're hit at home, suddenly they become timid. This is a world leader writing on paper. I made a unilateral decision to take out the lives of high-ranking military officials in an opposing nation, as well as destroy their UAV factory, which, by the way, is a completely legal and appropriate response to the things that were happening. Undoubtedly.
UAV attack.
That's right, undoubtedly. By the way, speaking of the UAV attack, I wanna make this kind of a statement. For those people that used to watch me on Facebook that no longer watch me on Facebook because I can't be on Facebook, I got kicked off of Facebook because I had a contact in the IDF through the consul's office who gave me the story on them forwarding off attacks on the assets off the Mediterranean coast in the north where the oil where the oil rigs are. These were UAVs that were Iranian, who were launched by Hezbollah on behalf of Iran to seek to attack and destroy those oil rigs because of the conflict at hand with Turkey. And the IDF was able to not only successfully thwart all of that, but the IDF was able to, in one of those portions of the attacks, use that UAV against them. Now, what's interesting is I did a story on this to condemn terrorism and just say this is yet another story of the kind of nonsense that they're doing. And Facebook removes me, takes my account away. 30,000 people watch on that account.
Whoa.
Took it away overnight and said that I was encouraging terrorism. I made an appeal. It has been almost 2 years and they've not responded to my appeal.
So there is a underground war that is going on. But here's the thing. Why did Bennett come out with it now?
That's, to me, and this is a conversation for later because I know we're going to end up getting ourselves kind of derailed here. But for me, that is the question of the century. By the way, for those of you guys that are doing super chats and super stickers, I will read those a little bit later in the broadcast. Thank you so much for your generosity. You have no idea how much that means to all of us. But yeah, I have no clue. You can take all the geopolitical prowess that exists And I would not be able to conjure up an idea as into why he's disclosing it the way he is. There's enough knowledge about Israeli operations for everybody to know that nothing as sophisticated as what happened in the destruction of that drone factory or any of the other things that we've seen happening could be anything other than Israel. Everybody knows that. But why?
Why disclose it?
Why is Bennett?
Okay, so why do you think? Let's go over this. Why? What does Israel get from disclosing it?
Look, if I have a theory
Okay.
behind what Bennett is doing, this is just my theory, right? If I have a theory, my theory is he is attempting to, in the face of, because there is a movement right now, and it's a significant movement, right? It's not going to go anywhere, but there's a significant movement that is pushing towards, again, the removal of Bibi. For a lot of reasons. There's a lot of people who don't like Bibi for a lot of reasons, and we'll just leave that alone. I'm not even going to get into the complexities of the lies that are intertwined in that whole thing and why it's so ugly, right? But there is a very concerted effort, by the way, being led by a former prime minister. Okay, oh my goodness,
Olmert.
Olmert,
Okay.
Ehud Olmert, being led by him. Okay, but that's a whole other. Well, the complexities associated with how absolutely foolish and ignorant that man is in the attempts that he's making. He doesn't realize that he's cutting the legs of his own nation off by doing what he's doing, and I don't think enough people are going to take him seriously. Even the conservative section of the Knesset aren't going to pay any mind to him. Not now, but I think that Bennett is trying to create some kind of a picture of strength for the portion of, or the contingent of the party that he represented that was not true to its own purpose.
So
I think this has got some weird Likud contingent written all over it. And I could be wrong about this, man. I don't know. Because look, here's the thing with Bennett that I never really understood, right? When Bennett became the prime minister, Bennett's the organization of his government was predicated upon hatred of Bibi.
yeah,
And not the policy.
It was an anti-Bibi.
It was an anti-Bibi vote, right? Yeah. So when he came in and he started doing some of the things that he did, everybody recognized he was a weak leader.
Yeah,
He was a very weak leader. He was literally kissing the rear of the United Nations, right? He was trying to prove some kind of a point that every Jew out there knows he could not prove, right? You could brag about all the Nobel Peace Prizes you want. You could say anything you want. You're not going to get the UN, especially Guterres, to say, I love you. You're just not.
but I'm not sure this was only a internal Israeli political event.
Okay, so my point is, so let me go back and do this. So I think that there was a general picture of Bennett being weak, right? And I think that for the most part, what he was trying to do was he was probably trying to draw a picture that, no, when I was in office, I was a little bit stronger than normal. But I think I'm just indulging a little bit. This is me getting into the human nature side of people.
Okay.
I think Bennett has a little bit of a regret. I think there's a little bit.
These things?
No, not for doing these things, but for forsaking the core of his own party in order to create the coalition necessary to bring in.
There could be.
The vote.
But Bennett would be the first of a long list of people, including what was her name? Limor Livnat, including Meridor, including Begin, who were under Bibi.
You're right.
And were totally
Traitors.
Kind of thrown out of the Likud, and there's a whole list of that. But I want to connect on something else, though. I think that what Israel is doing, and to a certain extent, maybe I'll come into a different direction. And lately, when I was growing up in the Army, nobody ever talked about military unit numbers. Meaning, when something happened in Lebanon, nobody said it was the 104th Brigade. They would say the Israeli forces in Lebanon. We would very carefully keep our military abbreviations. No, it's not true. We know who is fighting. We know what brigades. We know what units. I know that my battalion is in Gaza right now. Okay,
But
so,
is that an internal thing, David, or is it, it's now more
I
published?
think this is what I think what's happening is Israel is saying this. We have to project power in the Middle East. We don't have to project power in Europe. We have to project power in the Middle East. We don't have to. We can't be like Britain with the SAS. Okay, that does amazing things. That does secret things. Nobody knows about it. Nobody even talks about them. They're very secretive. Nobody talks about it. And it's okay because they're dealing with European ideas. We're in the Middle East. And if you don't do the Abu Ali, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you don't do the Abu Ali thing, it doesn't matter that you have power. You have to actually wave it around. I know it sounds weird to say this. And I think Israel has decided to wave a little bit more of its military capabilities and its clandestino. I mean,
The
underground
clandestine
capability.
operations. But so here's my question then, because this is me being selfish, and I know I'm kind of going off the path a little bit because this is for my enrichment, and I know
Isn't
that
this
I'm,
what we do on our conversations all the time?
Yes, but I do also know that I'm kind of forsaking the group because this delves into some complexities that some people might not be tracking with. Okay, so okay, so if that's the case, and we understand that is the intent of doing it, right? Then okay, why Bennett? Why Bennett himself is not an Abu Ali thinker.
Well,
He doesn't. His mind. Matter of fact, when you think of the name Bennett, when you think Naftali Bennett, your mind goes to the European mindset. Your mind goes to the old school potential, maybe even the SAS mind.
I'll tell you why Bennett.
Why?
Because Bennett is how do you say in reserves, a past. He's not an actual player today. He's not part of the political movement. So basically, he can say things. I mean, it's like.
But doesn't he have a significant influence in this judicial revolt
Bennett?
that was going in?
No.
With respect to the contingent of people that were silently funding some of the opposition to. He was the big fundraiser for some of those people.
I'm not sure that was Bennett. I mean, I would say Yair Lapid maybe, but I think Bennett led.
Yair Lapid is in a different story. Lapid is too much of an acquired taste to be a fundraiser. But it's true, right? I mean, think about it. If you get, even when he was the foreign minister, right? He did not have enough, let's just say, a curb appeal, right, to be able to bring in people who believed in him
true.
so much that he gave money.
But Bennett doesn't either. I mean, Bennett's too much.
But
of
a
a
lot
nice guy.
better than Lapid.
Yeah, but Bennett's got a kippah, which is a problem in itself for a lot of the people on the other side.
Maybe you're
And
right.
there's a-
Yeah, you're
there's a
right.
lot
I
of
mean, not
things
maybe.
coming up.
You're probably right.
He walks the line between yes and no. But again, I want to get off the Israeli politics here because I think this is a mistake, and I think Bibi's got a problem. Okay, and when we talk about the day after this, I mean, Bibi has let down a lot of people.
He's gonna face some big issues, undoubtedly.
And there might be maneuvering into what's going on. I mean, if Israel had an election today, Gantz would take it by landslide. I don't know if you're kind of.
I've never said that publicly. I just never have. But yeah, my guess is that would be the case. Old Benny would probably be the one.
Yep,
I'm guessing
as of now.
I'm guessing.
Okay, so again, this is another. But I want to kind of leave Israel's. I mean,
But that would be an anger vote too, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be an anti-Bibi vote for Gantz. It would be I'm angry, I'm ticked, and no one's going to ever do this to us again.
yeah,
kind of a vote.
Maybe yes, but yeah. Well, we kind of see that. I think most Israelis would say that this idea that we can appease the other side, and you know, Mr. Security, and basically has been appeasing the Hamas for the last 10 years, and that's something that Israel is going to make him pay for. I think so.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess that kind of solves it. Let me read this to you. This is because this is. Go ahead.
Let me tie it in.
Tie it in. Please tie it in. Yep.
Because Hezbollah, Hamas in Lebanon. Okay, and here's the thing: the Iranians, with their strings that they're kind of orchestrating all of this, are trying to decide which string to pull here and which string to pull here. And when they pull, they don't actually yank the string. They nibble it a little bit.
Yep.
See what's going on. See what the reaction's going to be. before they decide which of the strings they want to pull. Does that make visual
Fair
sense
enough.
for
Yeah.
what we're talking about? One of the strings is Hezbollah. But then another string would be Hamas in Lebanon. That's a little smaller string that they're kind of yanking. That's what El Ariri died because
because of that very
we
string.
cut that string. We cut that string.
Yeah.
Okay. Another one is the Houthim in the south.
Okay, can I ask you this question? With the Houthi in the south, I'm glad you brought that up because we're gonna talk about that in a second. Let me back up. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Nasrallah may very well be the one who is holding back an overwhelming amount of the kind of stuff that we could be seeing coming from the north, from Hezbollah. I think Nasrallah has a legitimate fear right now of engaging Israel.
Well, he has an legitimate fear that the Dakhia region in Beirut will look like Sajaiya in Gaza.
Because they're going to end up pushing back the demilitarized zone another 10 miles.
Which brings a lot of us to believe that the connection between Iran and Hezbollah is not a direct string connection. There are some, shock absorbers in the middle. And I think Nasrallah and Iran to a certain extent, but even Nasrallah is realizing that he might become another Gaza.
Look, that's what I think. And I also think that we're already beginning to see a bit of a separation between Hezbollah and Syria because of the recent bombings. We'll just say bombings. The recent bombings that the IDF has inflicted upon Damascus and Aleppo in the airports there.
So here's the thing. Nasrallah is saying, wait a minute. Is this a hill I want to die on? And he's not sure. And he's saying, even if Iran decides that this is a hill I want to die on, I'm not sure I want to die on this hill. And I think to a certain extent that's what we're talking about. That is a problem that we're dealing with. And I think what Israel has done is says, okay, you want to use these proxies of proxies. By the way, do you understand that the Hamas in Lebanon is a proxy of a proxy?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And not only are they a proxy of a proxy, but the other thing is I don't think Nasrallah really is as ideological as the Islamic Brotherhood is.
Oh, you know he's also a drug dealer.
Oh yeah, I know. That's the whole Poppy,
there we go.
the whole Poppy and his Afghanistan connection is something widely known by a lot of people.
So tie this in. So what's happening with the Houthis?
Okay. So this is interesting to me because I think with the Yemeni Houthis, they have been enabled to move in this direction since the declaration of the President of the United States a couple of years ago saying that they're not enemy combatants anymore, basically saying that they are not terrorists. So, here's the thing that I think is kind of interesting, right? I think the Houthis have something to prove. I think they have something to prove or want to assert their position, specifically in the south. And when I say the south, I'm talking about the far south. I'm talking about south of Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about when we start talking about the area off the coast of Djibouti, that little choke-in point there where all of the boats are coming into the Red Sea. I think that the Houthis are the petri dish of Iran right now. I think Iran is rethinking their strategy on how to engage their proxy war. Iran will only deal in terms of proxies.
Yeah.
That's what they do. I think the Houthis is a retooling of their proxy war.
So they're dangling the string. They're not pulling it, they're dangling it.
Yeah, they're testing. They're looking to find out what the resolve of the United States of America is. And what's interesting about that is the Houthis themselves they're not yielding direct attacks against United States assets like we saw, like for example, with the USS Cole that took place in the Persian Gulf. I think that what we're talking about here is we're talking about the Houthis themselves acting as a functional proxy to find out what they can do and what they can't do, what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. That's what I think is happening.
You know that a Indian ship was hit by an Iranian.
Yes. So let me tell you why I think that is. Look, I think that's the case because they are looking to produce two results. Okay. Number one, it's a test. They want to see how much this new coalition that was put together by our Defense Department. By the way, I was shocked to hear that it was our Defense Department that called upon this.
Yeah.
If you remember, Austin was the one that made the kick and scream about getting a bunch of nations together to create a coalition of defending forces in the Red Sea, right?
Okay.
So this happened a few weeks ago. This happened about a week and a half ago, and now they're all together. And I think that the Houthis, Iran is trying to do two things through the Houthis in this particular context. Number one, they want to know how far the resolve of this new coalition is going to go. Obviously, the United States of America is the one that has to act first with respect to firing and defensive action because they're the leader of the coalition. If they're the leader of the coalition and they act immediately, then you know things are not going to be as easy as they want it to be with respect to the piracy that's going on there, right?
Okay.
The second thing is they want to see if they can flip the switch that the United States of America was trying to prevent from being flipped, but already has been flipped. Let me give you the example. Their desire is to see trade stop. They don't want any ships to be going through the Red Sea right now. This is the Yemeni Houthis. This is Iran. There's a big reason for that. If Iran can stop the trade route from going under the ocean there into the Red Sea using the Suez Canal, yes, they understand that it's going to affect and hurt Egypt. They don't care. Egypt, they're a bunch of Sunnis. They don't even really care. But the bigger issue to them is, and the one that's perhaps more significant, is if they can affect that, then they can force a land bridge motion, which then puts them in less strategic position, but allows a certain amount of flexibility in the Persian Gulf that they would not normally have. So here's what's happening. The United States of America sees the writing on the wall. They say, we know what's going to happen. We have to prevent shippers from saying we're not going to use the Red Sea. We have to. So we have to defend those assets, right? China, I don't know if you know this, China put a moratorium on their shipments. I think it's only lasted for 40 hours. But they basically said, for the next 40 hours until you get this area stabilized there in that Gulf of Aden area, unless you get that stabilized, we're not sending our ships over there anymore. Do you understand how destabilizing that could be?
You're forgetting the biggest democracy in the world, and that is India.
Yeah, well, okay.
And I think what Iran is doing through the Houthis is saying to India, we've got the key. We can lock this door whenever we want.
No, but that's my point.
And
That's my whole point.
If they have the key, then they can put pressure on India in directions that they want to put pressure. They will need concessions from India. So they're kind of locking India into this as much as anything else.
But let me demonstrate to you why this is so important, right? Like this, let me tell you what I'm looking at here that makes this so much more significant. Okay, I'm gonna go over to this picture here so that everybody can see this and follow with us when we're talking. Okay, so let's go back to India, right, where we're talking about here, and we're talking about this whole area. Okay, and of course, as we talked about, we've got the Arabian Sea here. Eventually, we come into the Indian Ocean. We've got the Gulf of Aden here, the Gulf of Aden, the Persian Gulf. Okay, this is what I think is at stake. Okay, I think exports from India, and there's a lot of to Europe, and there's a lot of very important exports that are coming out of India, especially technical exports, right, into Europe are coming a couple of ways, right? The first way that they're coming is in through the Persian Gulf. The only problem that they have in bringing it through the Persian Gulf is they're at, in essence, an internal war with Pakistan.
Yep.
So nothing's going to go through Pakistan. If they want to go above and over, they can go through like these areas where Islamabad is and some of these areas and go through Afghanistan without any real problems.
The Chinese are building the Silk Road exactly there.
That's exactly right. For that very purpose. For that very purpose, right? So the issue here, and this is what they have to do, right? The issue here is their immediate go-to place is to go from anywhere of their major ports, and the ports that they look at probably the most are going to be near Surat, this whole area,
Mumbai.
right? Mumbai, of course.
Mumbai.
Yeah, without a question, right?
Yeah.
Without a question. So they're coming out from here and they're going straight through the Gulf of Aden. They're going up into here, into the Mediterranean. And then, as you see, they've got access to all of Europe.
Yep.
Okay, no problem. Well, the problem here that they have now, and it's significant, and of course, as you said, Iran is playing with them. Iran is wanting to kill this. Because what Iran wants to do is Iran wants to say, we can not only shut it down, but because of your problem with Pakistan, we want you to come in all through the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, and start dealing with us. And then we'll transport it all through our allies, being Iraq, Syria, across the Mediterranean from Lebanon into where we need to go. And by the way, they're going to be very capable of doing that because they're not going to face any opposition because of what's happening with their friendships with Hezbollah. So I think there's a bigger picture there. They're not going to be successful, and the reason why they're not going to be successful is because what's happening with Saudi Arabia and Israel right now, Saudi Arabia won't let it happen.
But
They won't let it
the
happen.
highwayman problem. I mean, I just remember this from Middle Ages in England. If you can control the roads, you control all of the what happens.
Yeah, of course.
And you can control the politics behind that. Meaning, if the Iran can turn on and turn off or open or close the gates of the Red Sea, then they can control to a certain extent India. And India's support and India's military support, India will back them on the international stage. I mean, and they can actually take both a political or even an economical cut from everything that goes through the door, the Bab el Mandeb that they are opening or closing.
Yeah.
And I think to a certain extent that's what they're trying to do. Now, here's the thing: America has fired back against the Houthis.
Yeah, and
now,
big time.
Now, what's going to happen?
Let me read this to you. This is interesting, and you tell me what you think. The headline says U.S. Navy helicopters on Sunday sunk 3 Houthi boats. These are helicopters, by the way. These are naval helicopters.
Yep.
So they're coming off of a carrier.
Yep.
Okay. Killing their crews after the terrorists attempt to hijack a commercial vessel and were fired on in response to the besieged container ship's distress call. Okay. So they do the distress call. Here it is. This is the quote. This is Central Command, by the way. This is CENTCOM, their own words. These are our Central Command. On December 31st at 6:30 a.m. Sanah time, the container ship Marsk Hangzhou issued a second distress call in less than 24 hours, reporting being under attack by 4 Iranian-backed Houthi small boats. The small boats, originating from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen, fired crew-served and small arms weapons at the Hangzhou, getting to within 20 meters of the vessel. That's not far. And attempted to board the vessel. A contract embarked security team on the Hangzhou returned fire. Okay? So that's what they're saying. And then basically what they continue to say is U.S. helicopters, this is their quote, from the USS Eisenhower, which I didn't even know
It was in the Gulf of Aden.
So they were in the Gulf of Aden. Okay, so that was my next question.
Carrier group.
So that's a surprise. I thought maybe they were in the Persian Gulf, but that'd be too far to elicit a helicopter response, especially because of the safety of the airspace. So they're in the Gulf of Aden, which would make sense because that's the call that the Secretary of Defense called. This is all Austin, right? So the USS Eisenhower and Gravely respond to the distress call in the process of issuing verbal calls to small boats. The small boats fired upon the U.S. helicopters with crew-served weapons and small arms. The U.S. Navy helicopters returned fire in self-defense, seeking 3 of the 4 small boats and killing the crews. The 4th boat fled the area, and there was no damage to U.S. personnel or equipment, CENTCOM said. Okay, I'm not surprised with the story. The story doesn't.
Are you reading between the lines here, though?
Yeah, no. There's a lot of reading between the lines to do.
Okay.
But the most on its face, the most surprising fact of this story is they let the 4th boat go away.
Okay.
You want to talk about reading through the lines? Holy smokes!
Well, there's a couple of things that are kind of weird for me. First of all, I don't know if you remember the movies that came out of the Houthis landing on a oil tanker and taking it over.
It was a
and
big old deal.
disappear.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're not using helicopters.
And by the way,
you
everybody
haven't heard any more helicopters in the air.
Yeah, and everybody thinks, by the way, those were Somali pirates. They weren't. They were Houthi pirates.
they were Houthi.
From the movies. They think that they're Somali pirates, but they're not. Yeah, you're right. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So they're not using helicopters anymore. So they're attacking with attack boats, just like a couple of boats. And here's the thing: the ship put out a distress call, and America reacted to the distress call. Okay, but one of the things that I noticed that they said very clearly behind the lines, that the American helicopters did not open fire on the boats until the boats opened fire on them.
I know.
It's like the boats opening fire on the shipping is not enough for America to use lethal power. The only reason, and they stressed it twice, was self-defense. So, meaning if the boats had continued firing at the container ship and not turned their weapons and fired at the helicopters what? Would have stood there and watched them conquer.
Because the United States of America, under the leadership of this pig as president, has no desire to go back on his word and redeclare the Yemeni Houthis as enemy combatants.
There you go. And again, when you see it like this, you kind of read exactly what's going on.
Crazy.
Okay, so here's the problem. Okay, we'll solve our problem. Meaning, shipping that goes to Israel will go around the Horn of Africa. Fine. All right, it'll take a while. It takes 2 weeks longer. That's fine. That's not going to be the issue. But we're such a small fry. Are we going to have to send all of the shippings down around Africa now because we've got those Houthis there? And if we're doing that, okay, the world peace that has been in place for the last, I'm going to say 50, 60 years, has been a result of the United States of America keeping the shipping lines open.
Yeah, I know. It's a huge part to do with it, David. You're right.
And here's the thing. I mean, think about it. Iran hasn't closed off the Straits of Hormuz. Okay, China hasn't closed off that blockage there with I don't remember the name of the strait there. That they haven't, because you know that you do this, you come up close and
Can't
personal.
afford to.
Now here's the problem: the Houthis, or this tiny little pipsqueak in the middle of nowhere with nothing, is standing up to the United States and saying,
I know.
basically, na. Let's see you do something about this. And they're being very careful. They're coming and they're pricking. And they're saying, okay, now let's see what you're going to do. Then they're coming and they'll cut. And then let's see what you do. And they're very, very carefully testing the water, see how much they can do. Now, what's going to happen? They are going to become the heroes of the Arab world. They're going to become the heroes of the progressive
They're
world.
the folk legends.
They're going to become the heroes of everybody who is anti the man.
They're the new Al Qaeda.
Exactly. And you're going to have people flocking to there because they're standing up to the United States. And because the United States isn't willing to take off the gloves and just do it, they're standing up, and what Iran is looking for is another Al Qaeda, is another whatever that the Arab world can zoom around or gather around, and that's what they're looking for, another version of Baghdadi.
And this goes to why I believe, well, the reason why I believe China is inconsequential to Bible prophecy is because I think the Bible doesn't really talk about China. Mm-hmm. But what I think is even more interesting is I think that's going to be one of the keys to China becoming inconsequential. They are so busy and so pig-headed and so arrogantly focused on protecting what may be some form of bubble being put around Taiwan, that they're about to create an incursionary force into Taiwan. They're going to do it. It's going to happen, right? But they're going to do it at the expense of understanding their own energy needs and understanding the fact that an overwhelming majority of all of their exports officially shut down at that moment. And they're going to die. Economically speaking, they're going to die.
Okay, so I'm going to go back into the Goodyear blimp. And I'm looking down at this map right here, and I'm saying, why hasn't it happened, James? Why hasn't the spark that was lit in Gaza spread completely to? I mean, yes, you hear things, you see things, but it's still right now in pipsqueaks. The Hezbollah has 150,000 rockets aimed at Israel.
Yep.
They haven't used them.
Yep.
The Houthis could make a lot more noise in southern Yemen. Do you understand if they did block those straits, then the world? I mean, think about what happened when that ship got stuck in the Suez Canal and how world trade closed for 7 days. Okay, the Houthis can do that for as long as they want. Why aren't they doing that? There's something holding back this all-out, let's go all out. And we know that the Iranians were planning it. The Iranians were upset with the Hamas because they wanted to use the Hamas in part of that all-out war plan, and for something reason, they're not ready for that. And I'll tell you what I think.
Okay.
The nuclear bomb isn't ready. Think about this.
Iran's nuclear bomb isn't ready.
Nuclear bomb.
Yeah,
because if this situation and this Iran peddling and being very careful to patty cake around American military power, even Israeli military power, okay? If they had a nuclear option, that dynamic would be completely different. Even if they don't use a nuclear weapon, the fact that they have a nuclear weapon would change the dynamic of all of this a little bit different. And I think that they wanted to wait for this all-out attack when they had the nuclear option ready, and the Hamas actually threw a wrench into that.
Yeah, kind of blew that up. There may very well be some real issues to consider there, and I'm 100% with you on this. I think there's a lot of things holding that back. But the other problem is, and it's bigger than, again, a lot of people are considering or even thinking about, is what happens after, right? Iran pulls an ugly trigger, what happens? I think there's a part of them that understands the effects that's going to bring. Already as it is, China's becoming gun shy. Already as it is, when China as a government says, we're not going to allow any of our ships to go through this area of the Gulf of Aden until we get this problem fixed with these Houthis. Think about that. China is a direct ally right now with Iran. Mm-hmm. They're friends.
Okay.
Iran controls the Houthis. What
and how about the connection between Iran and Russia?
That's the point.
So you've got this whole axis, but I don't think they're ready yet. And I think part of what happened was when Israel reacted the way it reacted, they thought it was going to be another Israel's bombing campaign.
Yeah,
and
they
then
were shocked.
They were shocked. And
Yeah.
I think not only were the Hamas shocked, but Iran realizes that if you have an enemy that you prick and you prick and you prick, and it decides not to push back, but if the enemy is big enough that it does push back, you might lose everything. And I think that's part of the new dynamic that is being created, but we'll see.
Well, let me say something that I really haven't said all that publicly, and I haven't really been big about. I haven't been saying it much because you have to lay down a background for people to kind of understand the full implications of the statement that I'm actually making. Because the significance, it bears a lot of significance. And you have to understand the geopolitics of the region, and you have to understand how the ebb and flow of those geopolitics actually work. Because if you don't, then the statement itself is going to feel deeply out of context, right? It's going to feel very much out of context. Okay, but the other problem that you have is you have a massive problem with how energy is going to end up getting handled.
Yep.
And that is a problem that is it centers around Iran, it centers around Iraq, it centers around Russia, it centers around. There's a lot of people involved in all of this that they're very careful to play their cards correctly on this. And then you have another dynamic that a lot of people don't also consider either, because again, you can't consider it if you don't know the history or the background of it. And a lot of people don't think, like, if I went to somebody right now and I said, tell me the history of Benghazi and why the United States was involved there and what happened with Gaddafi and why many of the things happened.
Why did Marines die in the embassy?
Yeah. Why did Marines die in the embassy? Why is there even a civil war right now in Libya? Most people would not even know where to begin. They just wouldn't. And it's funny because, like, you look at these people like Nikki Haley and some of these other people that are encouraging war right now. I don't really trust the guy. I don't trust that young kid. I keep forgetting. I watch him all the time. This young kid, the new presidential candidate, the Indian kid, Vivek Ramaswamy. He did something that was like shocking, and I'm telling you what, it was savage what he did. In one of the last debates, he told Nikki Haley, "Name me 4 regions in Russia or 4 regions in Ukraine, the country that you want to go to war in. Name 4 regions for me and tell me you're concerned." She couldn't.
Of course not.
She couldn't name a single dang thing.
Of course not.
Because all she could name is how much money she wants in her pocket, right? The point behind it is there's such a lack of education in the region, such a lack of education with people understanding or knowing what's going on, that it's creating this kind of element. And all of these things are, without them being understood in its proper context, it isn't going to make sense.
Which brings me in a weird way to where we started off this conversation on my part.
Yeah.
People are getting tired.
Oh, they are.
People are getting tired. Okay, how much can we hear about the Houthis?
Israel and
how
this.
Much can
that's
we
right.
hear the Hezbollah? How much can we hear about what's happening in Hamas? And okay, we got it, but it's yesterday's news. It's in this case, it's last year's news. Okay, and what was getting me down is, wait a minute, it's still there. It's still being fought. There's still blood being shed, and on the sand of Gaza, both ours and the Palestinians. There's still a threat to Israel's existence.
David, let me put it in a way that people are going to understand this, okay? Because this is a way that most people will understand it if they don't. Let's just say you don't give a dang about a single Jewish life. Let's pretend you don't give a dang about a single Palestinian life. Let's just pretend you say, to heck with them all. They're, thousands of miles away from me. They don't bear any effect on me or whatever. Let's just say you have a completely narcissistic, just pathological perspective on all of this, and you don't care about anything going on in the world, which, by the way, is a lot of Americans right now, okay? Let's just say, let's say, and it's interesting. Like, if you look at the numbers on our channel, the numbers on our channel have gone down drastically in the last month. And the reason why they've gone down drastically is no one wants to hear about Israel. At least not our regular listeners, right? Okay, but here's my thing. I'm going to do what God tells me to do, not what the numbers tell me to do, so they can all kiss off, okay? But let me bring this into proper perspective. If you were to take the narcissistic approach,
Okay.
and you were just selfish and you were all about yourself and you didn't give a dang about any of it, right?
Okay.
What you are seeing happening right in the Middle East, you better know all of it, and you better understand it, and you better see it, and you better know it. You want to know why? Because it will eventually affect your children. It's already affecting your wallet. It will affect your security. It will affect the way you live your life. It will affect absolutely everything that you do in every way that you do it. And before you know it, you will have nothing left. And by the time you realize that it was something you should have focused on, it will be too late.
So what people don't understand, that what's happening now will add at least 2 or 3 days on their Amazon packages arriving.
Oh, that's if best case, like God blessed us and saved us scenario.
That's what it starts off with.
Best case scenario.
Okay, it's going to raise your gas prices.
100%.
Okay, it's going to raise your taxes.
Already is.
Okay, and that's without going into the biblical ramifications of what we're talking about.
Yep.
So again, we're back at what we keep on talking about from the beginning, and we need, and James, this is my and your role, I think, is to keep this in the forefront of the people who need to understand what's going on. Keep on reminding people that this is happening now in the world, actually in God's chosen land, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really important, because if we don't take the time to outline this for people, right? Look, for the Christians watching this, you also need to know this, because you have to learn how to apply the information that you're reading in the Bible. You are literally living through Bible times, folks. We're living in the Bible right now.
This is a biblical event.
These are all biblical events.
Yep.
And what we're seeing in Israel is an accelerant to all of that. And remember, everything centers around Israel. So we better be paying attention to this. And I think that there is an audience to grow, a significant audience to grow, if we can master how to teach people how it affects everybody else.
Well, and let's go back to what we're talking about. I mean, I'm talking to the people who do care. We're talking to the people who do have a connection to this. And let's just remember that there are those, James, who are on God's side on this one.
Yeah. No, listen, I agree. Look, I'm completely with you on this. I am, and I want to say this because I've had a few people, and I saw one comment in the comments, and I normally don't address comments directly, so I'm not going to be very specific about it. But I did have somebody, keyboard warriors are always awesome, right? I had somebody basically say, well, I really don't listen to you so much because you kind of insult me when you tell me that most people don't know about this, or your language is kind of insulting because you put this person down and you say this or you say that. Okay, here's the thing about this, okay? You right now see it all as that way until your child gets raped, until your family gets abducted, until you start losing things. And then pretty soon, you know what you're going to come back and do? You're going to come back to me and you're going to say, you were not harsh enough. James, why weren't you serious enough? Why weren't you speaking any louder? Why weren't you doing that? Do you know that during the time of Hitler, they were saying things about that. They were saying things like that about the kind of men that were speaking against him. They were saying things like that about Bonhoeffer. So my thing is this. I'm just going to say this. It's a big, listen, I'm just going to say this. I want the whole world to know this. It's a big fat, fatter than me, and I'm fat. It's a big fat, I don't care, get lost, go watch somebody else then. Because my whole point is this, and I don't want you to go watch somebody. I want you to watch me, and I want you to listen. I really do. But the thing is this. You have to understand the level of brevity that exists within the context of everything that's going on. Language matters. And the thing that you say matters. You have to wake up to see this stuff. It's super, super important. The whole world needs to hear this.
But we're preaching to the choir, James.
Listen, I will say this about the people that watch us. I have to say this because I think it's important. I am in the middle of some of the greatest people in the worldwide webosphere. Our audience is some of the coolest. They're some of the coolest people out there. We have the most loyal audience on YouTube. They're amazing people.
But we need to use them to get at the rest of
They are. They're fighters, and they're doing it. That's why we've been growing slowly. And in some cases, we've actually grown pretty quickly, right? And I'm very thankful, like super, super thankful.
So what do you see happening soon?
Well, besides the fact that the church is going to get raptured, I don't know. I mean, bro, we're gonna see a major fall apart. We are going to see a justification for a globalization movement, for a new world order type of movement, an antichrist type of movement, right? That is going to drive things in that general direction. Okay. And I think that it's a new crisis that will be used to justify a certain type of behavior. And I think we're already seeing it. Antonio Guterres is somebody who's propagating that nonsense, and he's one of the leaders in the UN.
Do you think he's a player?
Say again?
Is he a player? Is he going to be influential? Is he influential?
No. I think he thinks he's influential. I don't think he is.
So who is influential in this one?
I think he's a pawn.
Who should we be watching?
The private industry. I think we should be watching the Bill Gates and the Klaus Schwabs and those types of people. Yep. That's what I think we should be watching. The governments are all pawns. They're all puppets.
So what's our New Year's resolution? What's yours? You heard what mine is.
What's really funny? That if I were to give a resolution for what I'm going to do for how I want to pursue the new year, it's to work harder than I've ever worked before. And some people look at that and to have them hear me say that, it scares them, especially if it's my family that's hearing me say that. Mm-hmm. I think it's to work harder than I've ever worked before. God didn't give me the resources that I have and the brain that I have and the resources you have and the brain that you have for us to just neglect it.
So, which brings me back again. God, use me in any way possible.
Yeah.
And again, and I've said this in other places. If there are people, churches, organizations who want to hear this and talk about this and connect to this, just let me know.
Yeah, and I think that your voice needs to be heard on this, and I think people need to understand how critical all of these associations are. They're just really, really critical.
Well, it's my job to make what's happening in Israel personal, I think, and that's more than anything right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Listen, I would totally agree. Okay. What I'm going to do is we are going to take a few questions online.
Yes.
We'll take. Should we take questions here? Should we take them? Let's take them on locals. That way we can be uninterrupted. We'll do that on locals. And by the way, on this session for locals, you can join just as a non-supporting member. I'm not going to close it off to people so that if you guys want to come over on locals,
come over to locals. Yeah,
you can. There is no requirement. You just join my community. If you want to support us, hey, great. Praise God. We are grateful and of course enjoy your support. But if you don't, that's fine. But just because of the nature of what we're doing and kind of the importance of it, I'm just gonna open it up so that you guys can just join in and be a part of it. I'm gonna put the link up right now so that you guys can have it. Okay. Let me do that right now. And I'll put it up in the chat, and then I'll also pin it. Okay. And let me see here. We'll just take some questions, and then this is a no holds barred type of a question and answer session. So we're gonna do that right now. Let me put in the link here, and then as I get ready for us to do that, let me see here. Why is it not doing that? Man, Locals has been so clumsy lately. It has been really, really clumsy. Why am I getting a warning on Locals? What in the world is happening here? It's so weird. Yeah, this Locals has been acting very, very clumsy lately. Very, very clumsy. Okay, let me send this out to you guys so that you can see it. David, my big thing is I want to be able to record that Countdown to Eternity episode with you. So I don't know what your time is like. So we'll have to limit this to maybe 10 minutes.
Yep.
So that we can record the other show. But here it is. I'm putting links on both end so you guys can come join. And then while you're getting ready to join, let me go back and do what I promised I would do and acknowledge some of these super chats and super stickers. Oh my goodness. The generosity of you guys. You guys are just unbelievable. Fernando, you say Happy New Year, Pastor James and David. Thank you so much, Fernando. I think this was your first time, by the way, super chatting. Thank you. Chava2 UK, thank you. You say, bless you both. I haven't been able to watch today. Just wanted to drop in with this. Love you both. You're amazing, man. Thank you so much. Very, very amazing. Shirley Y, thank you. Wishing James, David, and everyone here a blessed New Year. Brad Brunn, thank you. You say, could be that Bennett is stating what he did covertly as PM as a warm-up act for flashbang, stating that the U.S. destroyed Nord Stream. Probably not. See, that's a smart man's comment right there. That's like a stinking brilliant man.
Somebody put a couple of connections together.
Brad is smart. He's an impressive guy. He just really is. Braden Barnes, you say, did you see the deal between Somalia and Ethiopia? I did not, and I will have to go back and look at that. Julie Bush, thank you so much. I'm going to get Brad Brunn and I'm going to get Michael Digman on a call. I'm going to get them live on this show. And if I really want to make it stupid and interesting, and when I say stupid, meaning like crazy, off the chain stupid, not like stupid as lack of intelligence, I should get Dean on this thing. That would be a very, very fun broadcast.
We could have a good time.
We'd be out of control on that broadcast. We might have to do that. Linda Hinosa, thank you so much. You say, appreciate your passion, James. You are right. You are the one person I agree with most about what's going on in this world now. Thank you for staying with God, Jesus, and the Bible. Only the real truth. Thank you. And thank you for your just insane generosity. That's just amazing. And then DL Rich One, thank you. All right, guys, we're going to move over right now. We're going to take some questions on Locals. So we will do that in about, I'm going to say about 3 minutes. Okay. We love you guys. God bless you. Keep fighting the good fight. We'll see you on Locals.